So as we heard, the Third Democracy Summit kicked off in Seoul this morning to address threats to democratic principles. It's the first time that the U.S.-initiated conference is being hosted independently by another country. There, President Yoon called to safeguard democracy from the double-edged sword of digital technology. Our presidential office correspondent Soo-young has details.
South Korea, the United States and the United Kingdom have called for solidarity in defending democracy for future generations amid fast-evolving digital changes that threaten freedom, human rights and prosperity. This came at the opening ceremony of the Third Summit for Democracy, which kicked off in Seoul on Monday, gathering world leaders, civil society and the private sector under the theme of democracy for the future generation. In his speech, President Yoon said artificial intelligence and new digital tools pose a double-edged sword to societies and individuals, citing fake news and disinformation as major threats. He also warned against a growing digital divide between nations that would widen economic gaps and, in turn, increase the democracy divide. He called for efforts to ensure digital progress goes hand in hand with democracy.
개인의 자유와 창의를 북돋우는 활기찬 민주주의는 청년들의 역량과 기회를 확장하는 촉진제가 될 것이며 이를 통해 우리의 미래 세대는 민주주의에 대해 더욱 확고한 믿음을 갖게 될 것입니다.
This year's summit begins with a ministerial-level meeting co-hosted by the UK and Ecuador, followed by an expert roundtable to address cyber threats while fostering digital innovation in a way that respects human rights and freedom in online spaces. Deeming South Korea a champion of democracy, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken remarked on the significance of the country hosting the summit independently for the first time outside the United States. The Summit for Democracy was first launched in 2021 under the leadership of US President Joe Biden amid the worrying rise of autocratic leaders and authoritarian governance around the world. Blinken called for collective efforts for democratic renewal to sustain faith in democracy.
In many places, basic freedoms have eroded. Electoral rights have come under assault. Corruption has eaten away at hope. As authoritarian and repressive regimes deploy technologies to undermine democracy and human rights, we need to ensure that technology sustains and supports democratic values and norms.
UK Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden called for a full-spectrum response to a full spectrum of threats.
Increased cyber defences, tackling mis- and disinformation, protections for candidates at home, and global consensus abroad. We will not be afraid to call out this malign activity wherever we see it.
The plenary session of world leaders will be held virtually on Wednesday evening Seoul time, with President Yoon chairing the talk on technology, elections and fake news. Kenyan President William Ruto will lead a session on the Global South, and Danish leader Mette Frederiksen on inclusive society and youth empowerment. Soo-young, Arirang News.